Alright, so this is just a quick little thought I had in mind, which actually works out because I saw the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and I really wanted to make a review, but I just never got around to it, and just at this point it didn't seem like it mattered, you know, like, who would care what I have to say about the movie? Like, they're already making plans for the sequel. They're already putting out publicity shots of Casey Jones, who apparently is going to be in the sequel to the next movie, which looks great and all, guys, but for the love of God, just put fucking Krang and Bebop and Rocksteady in this one. For fuck's sakes, they've been needing a movie for so long now, you know, just finally get them in there, please. That out of the way. Yeah, so I figured this was a good way to kind of slip in a short little review. 3 out of 5 pizza slices. It was good, but it could have been better. A little too much April O'Neil. A little too much. Not enough turtles, which I fucking loved the turtles. I loved the interactions with the turtles. You know, I thought they had characteristics. One complaint I heard from the movie was how the Ninja Turtles didn't have a very developed character. Their characters didn't develop in the movie. And I'm just like, they're the Ninja Turtles. They've been around since the 80s. You don't need to develop them anymore. Who they are is who they are. Leave them at that. You know, and really there are some, you know, minor developments with the characters. I really liked, just bottom line, I liked how they dealt with the turtles in it. I thought they really worked out, you know, even in my old age, you know, considering the fact that the Ninja Turtles are supposed to represent, you know, what's hip and cool now. You know, they're teenagers growing up in our culture, you know, they're supposed to be, you know, what is cool today, and yet I still liked it. You know, I wasn't, you know, crossing my arms, this old guy being like, I don't get it, kids these days, you know, like, it still had that hint of the 90s to it that I really enjoyed. Anyway, so I just, on a, what you'd think would be a completely off-topic thing, they had The Amazing Spider-Man playing on TV recently, and I finally saw it. I had seen it a little bit after I saw The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and did that review. I think, again, it was on TV, so I watched it. And then I saw Ninja Turtles, and then The Amazing Spider-Man, the first one, showed up on TV again. And I was watching it, and I noticed something really interesting about it. Mainly that I'm pretty sure The Amazing Spider-Man and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are the same script. Bear with me here. Let's start from the main character. Okay, you got Peter Parker, and in this movie again, to an extent, you have April O'Neil. Too much of her. She shouldn't have been the main character, but they made her the main character. Whatever. So, April O'Neil, you learn in the movie, also, spoilers maybe? You guys seen these movies already, I'm sure. At least the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle spoilers. April O'Neil, you learn her dad was a scientist. And his scientific experiments is what created the Ninja Turtles. Right? So instead of some kid, the original origin story, some kid loses the turtles due to some car accident or something, they fall in the sewer, get mutated. No, these were, you know, from the start being genetically mutated in a lab, and the scientist running the lab happens to be April O'Neil's dad. And another scientist was there as well. Okay, so let's look at The Amazing Spider-Man. Peter Parker's dad, you find out, was a scientist working on a genetic mutation. Whew. Genetic mutation, right? Okay, and the dad also had another scientist working with him. Okay, interesting. Now, let's look at these other scientists working with him. So, in The Amazing Spider-Man, the other scientist who was working with Peter Parker's dad turns out to become the Lizard, who is the villain in the movie, right? You know, back when Peter was a kid, you know, this guy didn't have any issues, but then, like, later, you know, as a teenager slash adult, or something. You know, he becomes the Lizard, you know, fights Peter Parker, who, you know, uses the genetic mutations his dad was working on to fight crime. Okay? Let's look at the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie. The other scientist working with April O'Neil's dad. Well, guess what? He turns out to be the villain. And guess who fights the villain in this movie? A product of the genetic mutation that the main character's dad was working on with the scientist turned evil. Pretty crazy, right? It gets better. So, what do both of these antagonists plot to do in these movies? Okay, well, let's look at the Lizard again. His whole beef is his whole modus operandi, if you will, is to go to a tall tower in Manhattan, place a machine on like the satellite, or you know, the very top spire of, you know, the tallest building in Manhattan, to release this toxic gas that'll turn everybody into a lizard. Okay. Also, that's another thing I just thought of. Lizard Man, or the Lizard. I always call him Lizard Man, but it's the Lizard and Turtles. Yeah, that's, you know, pretty weird there. But anyway, so his whole thing is to set up a machine on top of a tower and unleash the toxin all over Manhattan. Well, guess where Ninja Turtles takes place as well? Fucking Manhattan. And guess what that villain in that movie wants to do? The evil scientist that worked with April O'Neil's dad. He wants to unleash, I kid you not, a toxin from the very top of the highest building in fucking Manhattan. Exact same plot. Exact same thing. Both of them want to unleash a toxin on top of a skyscraper in Manhattan. Yeah, Ninja Turtles and Amazing Spider-Man. Two completely different movies. Exact same villain plot. Interesting, right? Come on. How is that not fucking weird? I mean, that's all I got, but still. I mean, they both, you know, take place in the sewers. The Lizard spends a lot of his time in the sewers with Amazing Spider-Man. Guess where the Turtles live? In the sewers. Nah. I mean, you could even go as far as to say, oh, April O'Neil is a photojournalist, which is something that Peter Parker usually does in the comics and movies. Photojournal, you know? And, like, you could say, oh, well, maybe one inspired the other, you know, comic book-wise, which is funny because when you think about it, the Ninja Turtles comic book was actually created as a farce on Daredevil, not Spider-Man. But, again, you know, a comic book universe created off of a other Marvel entity, so, you know, there might be a connection there as well. So, I just thought that was really weird, how they both have the exact same plot. I mean, from beginning to end, seriously, you know? The origin of the superpowers, you know, a scientist, you know, somebody, the main character's dad, you know, creates this genetic mutation, which ends up fighting, you know, the other scientist who is involved, who wants to unleash a toxin on top of a building. That's the description of both the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie and Amazing Spider-Man. Thank you very much. Good night.